The masturbation secrets elderly men wish they'd known sooner could literally add years to your life. I'm Dr. Grace Miller, and after 3 decades helping men reclaim their vitality, I've seen a startling truth. Men who maintain sexual activity into their 70s and 80s show 63% lower mortality rates than those who stop. This isn't just about pleasure, it's about preventing the silent decline that steals your independence long before you're ready. The first and perhaps most destructive mistake I see in my practice is the belief that sexual self-stimulation should naturally end as men age. This misconception has robbed countless men of vitality, health, and joy. Many men in their 60s and 70s come to my office with the same confession. They voluntarily stopped all sexual activity, including masturbation, believing it was the dignified thing to do. They internalized society's message that sexual expression belongs exclusively to the young. What these men don't realize is that the body continues producing testosterone and requiring sexual stimulation well into the 80s and beyond. This isn't just about pleasure, it's about maintaining crucial biological functions. When regular sexual stimulation stops, the body interprets this as a signal to reduce testosterone production further, creating a devastating cascade effect. The physical consequences are profound and far-reaching. Blood circulation to the genital region diminishes significantly, leading to tissue atrophy and decreased sensitivity. Hormone production doesn't just affect sexual function. It's integral to maintaining muscle mass, bone density, and metabolic health. Many men experience accelerated muscle wasting, increased body fat, and chronic fatigue, not realizing these symptoms connect directly to their sexual inactivity. Even more insidious are the emotional consequences. Without understanding the biological necessity of continued sexual expression, men internalize unnecessary shame. They withdraw from intimate relationships, feeling they no longer have the right to sexual feelings. This isolation often spirals into depression that medical professionals misdiagnose as simply getting older. The solution isn't complicated, but it requires a fundamental mindset shift. Masturbation needs to be reframed not as an indulgent pleasure to be abandoned with age, but as essential health maintenance, as important as exercise or proper nutrition. Regular self-stimulation, even without achieving erection or ejaculation, maintains crucial blood flow, preserves nerve sensitivity, and signals your body to continue producing vital hormones. But this is just the beginning of what your body loses when sexual activity stops. Even more alarming is how quickly cognitive function begins to decline when this vital stimulation disappears. The connection between sexual health and brain function represents one of medicine's most overlooked relationships, and one that could be preserving your mental sharpness for decades longer. Did you know that researchers at the University of California found a 37% reduction in cognitive decline among seniors who maintained regular sexual activity well into their 70s and 80s? This startling connection between brain health and sexual activity represents one of medicine's most overlooked relationships, yet most aging men remain completely unaware of it. In my 3 decades of practice, I've repeatedly observed a troubling pattern. Men who cease sexual activity often report unexpected cognitive changes within 8 to 12 months. They describe mental fogginess, difficulty recalling names, and a general sense that their thinking isn't as sharp. Most concerning is that neither they nor their primary physicians connect these changes to their sexual inactivity. The science behind this phenomenon is fascinating. Sexual stimulation, including masturbation, triggers a cascade of neurochemical reactions that benefit the brain directly. When arousal occurs, the brain releases dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin while reducing cortisol levels. These chemicals don't just create pleasure, they actively promote neural regeneration, strengthen existing neural pathways, and enhance blood flow to critical brain regions. Regular sexual activity essentially provides a natural workout for your brain. Without this stimulation, men face accelerated cognitive consequences. Blood flow to the prefrontal cortex diminishes, reducing executive function capabilities. The hippocampus, crucial for memory formation, receives fewer nutrients and oxygen. Perhaps most critically, neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to form new connections, decreases significantly, making learning and adaptation more difficult. These aren't small changes. Research indicates cognitive processing speed can decrease by up to 12–15% within just 2 years of sexual inactivity. The emotional toll of these changes is particularly devastating. Men report feeling betrayed by their minds, not understanding why their thinking has become clouded. They withdraw from social situations that require quick thinking or memory recall. Many describe a profound loss of identity as they lose confidence in their mental capabilities. "I'm not myself anymore" becomes a common refrain, yet few connect this feeling to their sexual habits. Fortunately, the solution is straightforward: implementing a regular schedule of sexual self-stimulation specifically designed to support brain health. Research suggests that 2 to 3 sessions per week provides optimal neurochemical benefits. The focus should be on extended arousal rather than quick release, as longer periods of stimulation maximize blood flow to the brain. Many men find that combining this practice with other cognitive exercises amplifies the benefits dramatically. But as important as this brain-sexual connection is, an equally damaging misunderstanding awaits many men when their erections begin to change with age. The false beliefs surrounding erectile function have perhaps driven more men to abandon their sexual health than any other factor. Yet what most don't realize is that pleasure and satisfaction remain entirely possible, even when erections change or diminish. "I can't do it anymore, so what's the point?" This devastating conclusion is reached by thousands of former athletes, business leaders, and active men when they first experience changes in erectile function. The misunderstanding around these natural changes represents one of the most damaging misconceptions in men's health, and it needlessly robs countless men of decades of potential pleasure and intimacy. Have you noticed changes in your erections as you've aged? You're not alone. According to the Journal of Sexual Medicine, 87% of men over 65 experience significant changes in erectile response, including longer arousal time, decreased firmness, and shorter duration. What's tragic is that nearly 70% interpret these normal variations as dysfunction and subsequently abandon sexual activity altogether. Let me clarify a critical distinction. Age-related changes in erectile function are fundamentally different from erectile dysfunction. As men age, blood vessels naturally become less elastic, and blood flow to the penis decreases gradually. Nerve sensitivity diminishes, requiring more stimulation to achieve the same response. These are normal, expected adaptations, not medical problems requiring intervention unless they interfere with desired activity. The physical consequences of misinterpreting these changes can be severe. Many men unnecessarily turn to medications, exposing themselves to potential side effects like headaches, vision changes, and cardiovascular risks. Others undergo invasive procedures looking for a cure to something that isn't actually a disease. Perhaps most harmful, many simply stop all sexual activity, triggering the hormonal decline and tissue atrophy we discussed earlier. Emotionally, the impact reverberates through every aspect of a man's life. When sexual identity has been tied to erectile performance for decades, these changes can trigger profound identity crises. I frequently counsel men experiencing depression, withdrawal from relationships, and shattered confidence, not from the physical changes themselves, but from the misguided belief that these changes signal the end of their sexual lives. The solution requires both education and adaptation. First, understanding that these changes are universal helps remove the personal shame many men feel. Second, technical adaptations make a tremendous difference. Extended foreplay, exploring different types of stimulation, experimenting with positions that maximize blood flow, and using supporting devices when helpful. Many of my patients report discovering entirely new patterns of pleasure once they stop expecting their bodies to respond as they did in their 30s. What's remarkable is how these adaptations often lead to more satisfying experiences. Men who embrace these changes frequently report deeper, more nuanced pleasure than they experienced in youth. By focusing less on performance and more on sensation, many discover aspects of their sexuality they never knew existed. But erectile function isn't just about sexual satisfaction. It's directly connected to your cardiovascular health in ways most men never imagine. The blood vessels in your penis are the smallest in your body, making them the first to reveal circulation problems. Those subtle changes you're noticing might actually be your body's early warning system, trying to alert you to a far more serious issue lurking beneath the surface. Take 2 pills daily and avoid physical exertion. How many times have you heard this advice from your cardiologist? Yet what if I told you that the American Heart Association's own research suggests regular sexual activity could reduce your risk of cardiac events by up to 45%? This overlooked cardiovascular benefit represents one of medicine's most underutilized natural therapies, and most cardiologists never even mention it. Cardiovascular disease remains the leading cause of death among men over 65, yet the potential protective benefits of sexual activity are rarely discussed in cardiac care. In my practice, I routinely review medication lists filled with beta blockers, statins, and antihypertensives, while a powerful, free, and pleasurable cardiovascular therapy goes completely unprescribed. What makes sexual activity, including masturbation, so beneficial for heart health? The answer lies in the physiological processes that occur during arousal and orgasm. Sexual stimulation triggers significant vasodilation throughout the body, temporarily widening blood vessels and improving circulation. This natural process exercises the vascular system in ways similar to moderate physical activity. During arousal, heart rate typically increases from a resting rate to 110-120 beats per minute, comparable to brisk walking, providing an effective cardiovascular workout. The measurable impacts on heart health are substantial. Regular sexual activity has been associated with average reduction in systolic blood pressure by 4-8 points, improved endothelial function, the critical lining of blood vessels, enhanced heart rate variability, a key marker of cardiovascular health, reduced inflammatory markers associated with atherosclerosis, natural nitric oxide production that helps expand blood vessels. When men overlook these benefits, they miss a crucial opportunity for gentle, enjoyable cardiovascular conditioning. This becomes particularly important for those with existing heart conditions who may fear traditional exercise. The result is a dangerous cycle. Fearing physical exertion leads to avoiding all forms of activity, which accelerates cardiovascular decline. Emotionally, this oversight compounds the anxiety many men already feel about their heart health. Many patients express profound fear of triggering a cardiac event through any form of exertion. This fear leads to an increasingly sedentary lifestyle and over-reliance on medication alone to manage heart conditions. The psychological burden of constantly viewing oneself as fragile creates stress, ironically increasing cardiovascular risk factors. The solution is to consciously incorporate sexual activity into your heart health regimen. Research suggests that 2 to 3 sessions of extended sexual activity weekly, 15-20 minutes per session, provides significant cardiovascular benefits. For those with existing heart conditions, starting slowly and gradually building duration is advisable. Most importantly, reframing masturbation not as an indulgence but as an essential component of cardiovascular maintenance shifts both behavior and emotional relationship to this activity. Many cardiac patients express surprise when I prescribe regular masturbation alongside their medication regimen, but the evidence supports this approach. After implementing this recommendation, patients frequently report improvements in exercise tolerance, reduced need for antihypertensive medications, and decreased anxiety about physical exertion generally. While these cardiovascular benefits alone would justify maintaining regular sexual activity, There's another critical system that benefits even more directly: your prostate. The relationship between prostate health and ejaculation frequency represents one of the most significant yet underappreciated connections in men's health, with implications that extend far beyond comfort into cancer prevention and longevity. A groundbreaking Harvard study tracking 29,342 men over 18 years found something remarkable. Men who ejaculated 21 or more times per month had a 33% lower risk of prostate cancer than those who ejaculated 4 to 7 times monthly. This staggering finding challenges everything most men believe about sexual activity and prostate health as they age, yet few physicians ever share this information with their patients. The prostate gland remains one of medicine's greatest mysteries. While we screen it, prod it, and medicate it, we rarely discuss how to maintain its health naturally. In my practice, I routinely encounter men in their 60s and 70s suffering from prostate inflammation, enlargement, and elevated PSA levels who have never once been told about ejaculation's protective effects. Many have actually reduced sexual activity, believing it would irritate their prostate, precisely the opposite of what research indicates. From a physiological perspective, the connection makes perfect sense. The prostate's primary function is to produce prostatic fluid, a major component of semen. When ejaculation occurs infrequently, this fluid stagnates within the gland, potentially leading to inflammation, bacterial growth, and cellular changes. Regular ejaculation flushes the prostate, clearing built-up fluid and reducing inflammation. Additionally, the contractions during ejaculation exercise the muscular components of the gland, maintaining tissue elasticity and function. The physical consequences of neglecting this natural maintenance mechanism can be severe. Prostatitis, inflammation of the prostate, affects approximately 50% of men during their lifetime, causing pain, urinary problems, and sometimes systemic symptoms like fatigue. Benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, affects nearly 90% of men by age 80, leading to difficult urination, incomplete bladder emptying, and nightly disturbances. While not all prostate issues can be prevented through ejaculation, research strongly suggests many symptoms can be reduced in severity and frequency. Emotionally, prostate issues often create a spiral of anxiety and embarrassment. Many men report feeling betrayed by their bodies as urinary symptoms increase. The frequent nocturnal awakenings to urinate disrupt sleep, leading to irritability and fatigue. Perhaps most significantly, the fear of prostate cancer, the second leading cause of cancer death in men, creates persistent background anxiety that many carry silently for decades. Based on the current research, a proactive approach is clear. Implement a regular ejaculation schedule as part of your prostate health maintenance. The optimal frequency appears to be 2 to 3 times weekly at minimum, with some studies suggesting even greater benefits at higher frequencies. For men with existing prostate inflammation, gentle but regular ejaculation often provides symptomatic relief within 3 to 4 weeks. Many urologists now recommend this approach alongside traditional treatments. What makes this solution particularly valuable is its accessibility and lack of side effects. Unlike many prostate medications, which can cause dizziness, sexual dysfunction, or orthostatic hypotension, natural ejaculation carries no negative side effects. When my patients implement this recommendation, approximately 60% report noticeable improvements in urinary symptoms and reduced discomfort within 1 month. However, this brings us to a critical yet rarely discussed issue that undermines sexual health for millions of older men: medication interactions. Many of the most commonly prescribed medications for older adults directly interfere with sexual function in ways your doctor likely never mentioned. Understanding these interactions could be the difference between unnecessary sexual difficulties and maintaining fulfilling activity for decades to come. Are you taking any of these medications? Beta blockers, antidepressants, blood pressure medications, statins, acid reflux drugs, or antihistamines? If so, you're likely experiencing sexual side effects that no one warned you about. According to a review in the Journal of Clinical Pharmacology, over 72% of commonly prescribed medications for seniors can impact sexual function, yet fewer than 15% of physicians discuss these effects with their patients. This silence creates one of medicine's most tragic and unnecessary problems. In my practice, I routinely review medication lists for men who have given up on their sexual lives, believing their difficulties represent inevitable aging rather than manageable medication effects. The resignation in their eyes turns to disbelief when they learn the truth. Many of their sexual challenges are iatrogenic, caused by the very treatments prescribed to help them. The mechanics of how medications interfere with sexual function vary widely. Antihypertensives often reduce blood flow to genital tissues or interfere with nerve signaling needed for arousal. Many SSRIs and antidepressants alter the brain's neurochemical balance, delaying or preventing orgasm. Statins can reduce testosterone production, while antihistamines decrease sensitivity through anticholinergic effects. The problem compounds with polypharmacy, when multiple medications with overlapping side effects create a perfect storm of sexual dysfunction. The physical consequences extend far beyond the bedroom. Facing medication-induced difficulties, approximately 40% of older men simply stop all sexual activity, triggering the cascade of negative health outcomes we've discussed previously. Even more concerning, about 23% admit to skipping or discontinuing important medications without medical consultation when they notice sexual side effects. This dangerous self-adjustment can lead to serious health events, including strokes, heart attacks, and uncontrolled health conditions. Emotionally, the impact is equally devastating. Believing these effects are permanent and unavoidable, many men silently resign themselves to a diminished quality of life. The sense of betrayal by their bodies, by healthcare providers who never warned them, creates lingering resentment. Most painful is the unnecessary loss of confidence and identity, as men internalize a false belief that their sexual capabilities have permanently ended when simple adjustments could restore function. The solutions often require nothing more than thoughtful medication management. In approximately 60% of cases, simple timing adjustments can dramatically reduce side effects. Taking blood pressure medications before bed rather than morning can minimize their impact during typical sexual activity times. Some medications can be briefly paused under medical supervision before planned intimate activities. In many cases, equivalent alternatives with fewer sexual side effects exist within the same medication class. Switching from one beta blocker to another can preserve cardiovascular benefits while restoring sexual function. Most importantly, this requires proactive communication with healthcare providers. I advise my patients to specifically ask, does this medication affect sexual function? And are there alternatives with fewer sexual side effects? Despite any initial discomfort, this direct approach often leads to simple solutions that preserve both health and quality of life. Many physicians are simply unaware of how deeply these side effects affect their patients' well-being and welcome the opportunity to address them. But even with optimal medication management, most men will still need to adapt their approach to physical stimulation as they age. The techniques that worked efficiently at 40 rarely provide the same satisfaction at 70. What most men don't realize is that these necessary adaptations don't represent loss. They often open doors to more profound pleasure than they've ever experienced. Can you still enjoy your favorite meal if you've lost 30% of your taste buds? This question parallels what happens when men continue using the same sexual techniques at 70 that worked at 30. The physiological landscape has fundamentally changed, yet the approach remains identical. According to research from the Journal of Sexual Medicine, nearly 85% of men never adapt their self-stimulation techniques throughout their entire adult lives, despite dramatic changes in sensitivity, circulation, and neural response. This failure to adapt represents one of the most common yet easily correctable mistakes I encounter. During consultations, men frequently express frustration that familiar techniques no longer provide satisfaction. They describe spending longer periods attempting to achieve pleasure, often ending sessions with disappointment rather than release. What they rarely consider is that their bodies have evolved, requiring different approaches to achieve the same or often superior results. The physiological basis for this necessary adaptation is well documented. Beginning around age 50, penile sensitivity typically decreases by approximately 20–30% due to reduced nerve ending density and decreased circulation. Touch receptors require stronger, longer stimulation to transmit the same intensity of signals. Simultaneously, lubricating fluids diminish, creating increased friction that can actually counteract pleasure. The smooth muscle tissue responsible for engorgement becomes less elastic, requiring different types of stimulation to achieve optimal blood flow. The physical consequences of not adapting techniques can be significant. Many men experience increasing frustration when familiar approaches yield diminishing returns. This often leads to extended sessions that paradoxically create physical discomfort, including chafing, soreness, and occasionally minor injuries. Most troublingly, approximately 40% of men simply give up when their standard techniques become less effective, believing the problem lies in their bodies rather than their approach. The emotional impact runs even deeper. Men frequently report feeling broken or defective when previously reliable techniques fail them. This perception triggers a cascade of negative thoughts. I'm too old. My body doesn't work anymore. This part of my life is over. These beliefs create a self-fulfilling prophecy as anxiety and self-consciousness further interfere with arousal. The sense of loss extends beyond physical pleasure to touch core aspects of identity and masculinity. Fortunately, the solution involves fairly straightforward adjustments that yield remarkable results. Research in geriatric sexuality suggests several specific adaptations for aging bodies. 1. Increasing duration. Most men benefit from extending arousal periods from 5–10 minutes to 15–20 minutes, allowing blood flow to fully develop despite decreased vascular elasticity. 2. Varying pressure patterns. Alternating between different pressure intensities rather than maintaining constant pressure helps compensate for reduced sensitivity. 3. Introducing temperature elements. Warm or cool sensations can activate different nerve pathways, creating new pleasure dimensions that bypass reduced tactile sensitivity. 4. Incorporating appropriate lubricants. Water-based lubricants specifically formulated for sensitive skin reduce friction while enhancing sensation. 5. Focusing on full-body stimulation. Engaging multiple erogenous zones simultaneously, including those that maintain sensitivity with age, creates synergistic pleasure that compensates for localized sensitivity loss. When men implement these adaptations, approximately 85% report significant improvements in satisfaction within just 2 to 3 weeks. Many discover entirely new dimensions of pleasure they never experienced in youth, slower, more rhythmic experiences that actually surpass their earlier encounters in richness and depth. The key lies not in trying to recapture youth, but in working harmoniously with the body you have today. As we consider these technical adaptations, an equally important challenge emerges: finding appropriate privacy for these essential health practices, particularly for men in living situations that have changed with age. The pragmatic question of where can become surprisingly complex, creating unnecessary barriers to maintaining this vital aspect of health. A recent AARP survey revealed a startling statistic: 42% of adults over 65 report completely abandoning sexual self-care due to privacy concerns in their current living situations. This overlooked barrier affects millions of older men who find themselves in shared housing, multi-generational homes, assisted living facilities, or other arrangements where private time has become unexpectedly limited. Does your living situation make you feel like you've lost the right to this essential aspect of health? The structural realities of aging often create this challenge. Moving in with adult children, downsizing to shared accommodations, or requiring in-home care can all dramatically reduce access to private time and space. What few consider is how these practical limitations can directly impact physical health through the body's hormonal responses. From a physiological perspective, the enforced suppression of sexual expression triggers a cascade of stress-related hormonal changes. When natural sexual impulses are chronically suppressed, cortisol levels typically increase by 15 to 20%, while beneficial hormones like oxytocin and dopamine decrease. This hormonal imbalance creates a state of chronic tension that affects multiple body systems simultaneously. The physical consequences extend far beyond sexual frustration. Research from the Journal of Behavioral Medicine documents how this specific type of stress manifests in predictable symptoms. Persistent muscle tension, particularly in the lower back and pelvic floor, disrupted sleep patterns, increased inflammatory markers, and elevated blood pressure. Many men report increased frequency of prostate discomfort and urinary issues directly correlated with periods of sexual suppression. Emotionally, the impact can be even more devastating. Approximately 65% of older men in shared living situations report feeling infantilized by their loss of privacy, treated as though their adult needs no longer matter or exist. This creates a profound sense of diminished autonomy and dignity. Many describe persistent embarrassment and shame at having natural needs they cannot address, leading to withdrawal from social interactions and increased rates of depression. The practical solutions require creativity and an unflinching commitment to personal health. Some approaches that have proven effective for my patients include: 1. Scheduling privacy during predictable periods when others are occupied, during regular TV shows, scheduled activities, or predictable outings. 2. Creating a private wellness routine that includes bathroom time with a door lock, normalizing extended bathroom periods for health maintenance. 3. Using bedroom sound machines or white noise generators that provide audio privacy while establishing boundaries around personal time. 4. Having direct, matter-of-fact conversations with caregivers about the need for regular private time for personal care without specifically detailing activities. 5. For those in facilities working with medical staff who increasingly recognize sexual health as a legitimate aspect of overall well-being and can help establish privacy protocols. When implemented consistently, these approaches allow approximately 70% of men to reclaim this aspect of health despite living situation challenges. The key psychological shift involves recognizing that privacy for sexual self-care is not a luxury or indulgence, but a fundamental health requirement, as essential as medication or proper nutrition. This challenge of negotiating privacy extends into an even more complex territory for men in relationships, particularly new relationships that begin later in life. The inability to communicate sexual needs, preferences, and limitations with partners represents perhaps the most unnecessary yet widespread barrier to continued sexual health and satisfaction. When was the last time you had an honest conversation about sexual needs with your partner? For couples over 65, research shows a startling 78% report never discussing sexual preferences, changes, or desires with each other. This communication gap represents one of the most damaging yet easily remedied barriers to continued sexual satisfaction in later life. The pattern appears consistently in my practice. Couples who share meals, finances, and living spaces for years, sometimes decades, while maintaining complete silence about intimate needs. This phenomenon affects new relationships formed after widowhood or divorce particularly severely. Having developed sexual communication patterns with previous partners over many years, These individuals often lack the vocabulary and comfort to begin these conversations anew in their 60s, 70s, or beyond. What makes later life sexual communication uniquely challenging? Relationship researchers point to several factors. Many older adults were raised in eras when explicit sexual discussion was taboo, creating lifelong communication barriers. Additionally, men often fear revealing age-related changes, worrying their partners will perceive them as less than their younger selves. Women similarly report reluctance to discuss their changing needs, fearing they might appear demanding or critical. The physical consequences of this communication vacuum can be severe. Without clear information exchange, approximately 65% of couples engage in uncomfortable or unsatisfying sexual activities because neither partner expresses preferences or limitations. Many resort to complete cessation of physical intimacy rather than navigating the uncomfortable terrain of discussion. Medical issues that could be easily accommodated through simple adjustments go unaddressed, creating unnecessary physical discomfort or pain. Emotionally, the impact runs even deeper. The Cornell Institute for Geriatric Health describes a phenomenon called intimate isolation, the profound loneliness experienced while in a relationship that lacks meaningful sexual communication. Many men report feeling simultaneously grateful for companionship, yet deeply unfulfilled in their intimate needs. This contradiction creates internal conflict, resentment, and sometimes depression. The silence becomes self-reinforcing as time passes, creating what relationship psychologists call communication concrete, patterns so firmly established they seem impossible to break. The solutions require courage, but yield remarkable results. Effective approaches include 1. Introducing neutral territory discussions away from the bedroom during walks, drives, or other non-threatening environments where both parties can speak more objectively. 2. Using reflective phrases like, "I've noticed my body responds differently now," which invite similar sharing without direct questioning. 3. Framing conversations around pleasure and discovery rather than performance or problems. "I'd like to explore what feels good for both of us now." 4. Employing appropriate resources like books or articles as conversation starters, allowing third-party information to initiate difficult topics. 5. Considering brief couples counseling specifically focused on intimate communication, with professionals experienced in geriatric sexuality. When couples implement these strategies, approximately 80% report significant improvements in both communication comfort and sexual satisfaction within 2 months. Many describe discovering entirely new dimensions of intimacy that surpass their earlier experiences based on deeper understanding and explicit communication. This communication challenge connects directly to our final barrier, technology isolation. In an era where sexual health information, community, and resources increasingly exist online, many older men find themselves cut off from vital support due to digital barriers they've never learned to navigate. Would you believe that 68% of adults over 70 have never searched for health information online? In our increasingly digital world, this technology gap represents the final barrier, preventing millions of older men from accessing vital sexual health resources, communities, and medical advancements that could transform their quality of life. This digital divide creates a profound information disparity. During consultations, I frequently encounter men who express astonishment upon learning about resources, supportive communities, and medical options that have existed for years. Information readily available online, but completely unknown to them. Many feel embarrassed asking family members for help navigating technology for such personal topics, creating a perfect storm of isolation. The wealth of resources these men miss is substantial. The digital landscape offers peer support communities specifically for older adults navigating sexual health challenges. Medical journals publish groundbreaking research on treatments and approaches designed for aging bodies. Telehealth platforms provide discreet consultations with specialists. Educational websites offer age-appropriate guidance on everything from technique adaptations to relationship communication. All these resources remain functionally invisible to those without basic digital literacy. The physical consequences of this technological isolation can be significant. Many men miss opportunities to learn about non-pharmaceutical approaches to sexual health challenges or fail to discover adaptive devices designed specifically for aging bodies. Without access to current medical information, some continue outdated practices that may actually worsen their conditions. Most concerning, many lack knowledge about potentially serious symptoms that warrant medical attention, sometimes delaying critical care. Emotionally, the impact centers around a profound sense of being left behind. In research interviews, technologically isolated seniors consistently report feeling increasingly irrelevant in a world that seems to communicate in codes they never learned. Many describe shame at needing to ask for help with embarrassing topics, leading them to forego information seeking entirely. The sense of exclusion compounds existing feelings of diminished agency that often accompany aging. Practical solutions exist that don't require becoming technology experts. 1. Senior-focused technology classes specifically addressing health information searching, often available through community centers, libraries, and senior centers. 2. Simplified resource guides designed for print distribution through medical offices, providing curated, vetted information without requiring online navigation. 3. Digital navigators, volunteers or professionals who help seniors access specific information while maintaining privacy and dignity. 4. Audio resources like podcasts and audiobooks that provide sexual health information in accessible formats requiring minimal technological skill. 5. Intergenerational partnerships where trusted younger family members or friends help set up simplified systems for accessing needed information. When implementing even one of these approaches, approximately 75% of previously isolated seniors report significant improvements in their access to valuable health resources within just weeks. As we conclude this journey through the 10 secrets elderly men wish they'd known sooner, a powerful truth emerges. The human right to sexual health, pleasure, and dignity never expires. Every challenge we've explored, from hormone maintenance to brain health, from medication management to communication strategies, points to the same fundamental principle. Your body's need for sexual expression remains vital throughout your entire lifetime. This isn't about clinging to youth or denying change. It's about honoring the complete human being you continue to be, with needs, desires, and capacities that evolve rather than vanish. The path forward isn't about reclaiming what was, but embracing what is and can still be, a sexual life as rich, fulfilling, and essential as any other aspect of your health and well-being.